Okay, let's move on to this story. We need to cover it very responsibly around Andrew Cuomo because it's a little bit confusing. So we have that up on the screen. The case against Andrew Cuomo is, quote, very solid, the sheriff says of a move to file a complaint. This is important. A district attorney has not yet committed to prosecuting former Governor Andrew Cuomo in terms of a sexual harassment case. However, a sheriff the Albany County Sheriff, who has scrutinized cell phone, flight records, testimony, and hundreds of pages of documents, has gone ahead to move with a criminal complaint charging Andrew Cuomo with a misdemeanor of sex crime. And it was filed by that sheriff investigator in Albany City Court on Thursday. Now, this is a little odd, like we said, because the court, of course, takes a little bit of time to process the paperwork, but the sheriff has moved with the complaint against Andrew Cuomo, despite the fact that the district attorney has not yet committed to filing the criminal complaint and going after Andrew Cuomo, aka prosecuting him. So that's where we are right now. What it does reveal is that for the last 2 months, there has been an actual effort by the district attorney's office and by the sheriff's investigators in order to gather criminal evidence against Andrew Cuomo in an alleged sex crime prosecution. Now, the details and the exact victim there, given that there possibly were many, is not exactly known, but there was a lot of hay around the fact that this was even released, and there's some question, Krystal, whether this is tied to political motivations and more. So it's a little strange in the way that it's all happening.
It's weird how it all went down. And so basically what happened is the sheriff filed charges, and ordinarily in that situation, especially in a high-profile, really touchy situation like this, you'd be coordinating with the district attorney every step of the way.
That's right.
Now, what the sheriff is saying is, I filed these charges expecting that normally it takes some time for the court to process them. And so I thought I would have time then to go and talk to the prosecutor and get all my ducks in a row. But it's already unusual that they weren't coordinating to start with. Then the court right away processes it, like within minutes. Yeah. And so they were caught off guard. The potential, what Cuomo is saying is that these charges were filed on the same day that Letitia James, Attorney General of New York, announced she is running for governor in the Democratic primary. Of course, Letitia James is the one who really exposed a lot of what was going on here very effectively in a report that, with mountains of evidence, and also exposed how much his brother over at CNN was coordinating with him. So there was a lot there. So he's effectively insinuating that, maybe Tisha James and this sheriff were sort of coordinating so that the charges and her announcement dropped on the same day. I have no idea whether there is anything to that whatsoever. But what we do know is that the charge here is forcible touching. It carries a penalty of up to 1 year in jail. The woman who is the alleged victim here has actually come forward and said, this is about my allegations against Cuomo. And I don't know if you guys remember the details. This was one of the more egregious instances we learned about from the former governor, where he invited a woman to the governor's mansion, reportedly for a work reason, and then he reaches under her blouse and grabs her breast, according to her. We also know that from the story, the evidence from the sheriff's office hasn't been made public, but the complaint said that the materials offered as evidence here include a text message from Mr. Cuomo's cell phone, messages from the BlackBerry devices of state police troopers, and swipe card entry records from the state capitol. His line had always been, couldn't have happened the day that she says this may have happened, I never saw her.
Yes.
And so it seems that they may have some records, some evidence to indicate that he was mistaken or lying about his whereabouts and her whereabouts on when this may have happened. This is speculation on my part.
Absolutely.
The other part of this, of course, we have to mention is that his brother, Chris Cuomo, over on CNN, hosting a lowly rated but still their highest rated primetime show, failed somehow to mention any of these stunning developments, let's put this New York Post tear sheet up. Chris Cuomo avoided covering brother's sex crime charge on his CNN show. So surprised.
They had time to cover Alec Baldwin, though. Don't worry. They had time to cover Alec Baldwin, but they didn't have time to cover this. I'm not saying the Baldwin thing isn't interesting. We've covered several aspects of it. I support covering the Alec Baldwin story. I also support covering a significant political figure who previously was talked about as a presidential candidate being charged with a sex crime here. Completely ignored. The fact is that the details here absolutely do matter. And how much longer is CNN going to try and get away with covering for the fact that the brother of this man was not only intimately involved in the cover-up of, retaliating against many of these victims, or at least people who had spoken out against Governor Cuomo, but then avoided covering it on his show. The endless morass here is just so difficult to even describe. But they continue to beclown themselves. And every single time, what was it Brian Stelter said? What was his defense? It's just such an extraordinary situation.
Right.
They're like, something like this has never happened before. It's like, no. It's actually happened a lot. Unfortunately.
Conflicts of interest are really common, actually.
Conflicts of interest are incredibly common in the media industry. Some people make, at least a pretense of trying to overcome it, and they are just not doing that whatsoever. They did have time to laugh and joke around while they were all in Rome covering the president's summit, but, this major news that broke literally right before the show, that doesn't get any of it. So
I think we should have gone to Rome to cover the president.
I think we should have gone.
That was a missed opportunity
as well. Yeah, breaking points on the road. Let us know if you would have supported that. So, there we go.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.